de chiquita, I'm the rebellious, I'm the malcriada, I'm the one asking the questions that don't make sense, to the things that don't add up. Pero mamá, ¿por qué haría eso Dios? O sea, Dios no debe de hacer eso, eso es malo, like, like, ¿tú me harías eso? ¿Tú me matarías? Her, yes. If God told me, yes.
Hola, welcome back to the First in Healing podcast. I have Zadria. Did I say that right?
Yeah, Zadria Knives.
Zadria Knives back with us today for a part 2. You had commented on one of my videos. I was asking about why do we pressure influencers and people to talk about what's going on? Everyone starts to pressure, why aren't you talking about, like, let's say what was going on in Gaza? And it was like, we're going to cancel you. And all of these cancelings happen. The influencers make one video, oh my God, I knew I loved you for a reason, like you're the amazing. And then they forget about the cause because they didn't care to begin with, and then life goes on. And so similarly, it's happening right now with, I feel like, our community or people, like, why aren't you speaking about it? You're Latina, you're Latino, whatever. And then most of them made like one video, back to normal schedule, like regular creativity scheduling. And again, everyone's kind of just like, okay, cool. Like, at least they made one video. So anyways, in that video, Zadria was like, hey, I feel like we need to talk about the nuance and the impact that countries like Israel have had in Latin America, right? And bring depth to what we're seeing in the world, but also, I think knowledge cuts through propaganda, like having knowledge is what helps you weave through propaganda, and there's plenty of that. I feel like we've always been sold propaganda, but I think as we're healing and awakening and trying to make sense of the world and the universe, it's also important to then not narrow what we think of others based on what we're told to think of them. And so the same way that they're doing it to our people, to Latinos, to first gens, to immigrants, is the same way they've done it for other cultures for a really long time. And so I'm really thankful, Zadria, that you bring that knowledge, and that we're going to get to talk about like how that intersection, of many different things come together. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for this part 2. And I know I've been talking a lot, so feel free to say hello. I didn't even let you.
It's okay. It's part 2. Ya me conocen.
Sí.
Well, I guess I'm honored to be here as well again for a part 2, because I'm really excited to talk about this topic because it's very important. It's very close to me. And I have a lot of personal experience with Christian Zionism in Latin American communities, and it goes a lot, again, like I said before in part 1, it goes a lot deeper than you think. This goes a lot deeper than we think as well. It's not just like, the war, not even a war, the genocide that Palestine is going through right now. It didn't just poof out of nowhere. Like, some people just found out about it. But this has been the reality for Palestinians since the Nakba. Before I say anything, I want to say, like, yes, I talked about my mom and like things that happened to me in the past with them, with trauma, my parents, stuff like that. No one say anything about my mom. Only I get to fucking say shit to her and put her in her little, her terca ass in her little place. But no one say shit about my mom, please, because respectfully, y'all don't know her story, and one day I want her to tell it the best way that she can, but that's for her to tell. I'm going to talk about how churches, Christian churches, Catholic churches, Abrahamic religions at times are the only safe haven and community spaces for mujeres, for Latin American women, especially immigrants who come from whatever country, Mexico, El Salvador, Peru, like, and then they make it to the US, like searching for the American dream, and they don't have family, they don't have any roots here. So what's the next best thing? A church, because everybody's on the same page there, and you can find community there. You could even get jobs, like, from just networking with people, and because that's what communities do. They bring abundance, and everything, right?
Yeah.
But there is a lot of like Abrahamic religions are shit, dude. Oh, está pesado. Like it's like, can I say something? Can I say something? Without without y'all,
I know.
without y'all
Well,
burning me at the stake. But
I think, we want to make sure that we make it clear, like we're coming from a place of, or as you listen, to make sure that like we're not coming for you or your thoughts or your beliefs. I feel like religion has a place in people's lives in different ways. So I think, like, as you speak, don't worry, feel comfortable. I just think it's worth having conversations. Two Latinas, two first gens, having these conversations, powerful in my opinion,
yes,
because
okay.
normally we do shut down, right? We do not want to hurt people's feelings or etc. And that serves us in certain environments, but thankfully we have this one where we get to be open.
Thank you for saying that. Makes me feel a
Yeah.
lot more comfortable in communicating what I need to communicate. But where I was going to was a lot of religions are just inherently coercive. And it's kind of like, hey, I'll give you this. We have to do this. It's not just an unconditional love in the way that sometimes you can find through spirituality. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I have a lot of personal connection with Christian Zionism because my mom was one of the people who got caught up in the Kabbalah moment, New Age spirituality stuff. And Kabbalah is ancient Jewish spiritual knowledge. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, everything that Kabbalah says is wrong and evil. Like, no. But people who use it, there are people who use it to grift. People use spirituality to grift. This has been just a known thing. Like, this has been a known thing. The church, like, why did Martin Luther write those demands on the church? Leave it. Like, you shouldn't be charging people to get into heaven. You shouldn't do that. That makes no sense. And I feel like that sentiment has just evolved in a way. So in the Kabbalah sector of it all, they a lot of people sell courses, they sell menorahs, they sell Torahs. They're expensive merchandise to be to practice this faith and to have access to this knowledge. And my mom fell into it because, as we said, I talked about before, like she was depressed. She was in an abusive relationship, is in an abusive relationship, and when you are stripped of your identity and you've only been a homemaker your whole life, you only know yourself as a mom, a domestic worker, domestic provider, you lose your identity. And desde chiquitas, my mom was taught to have faith and that was like the saving grace of it all. And she jumped around from a lot of faiths. Like first we were Christian evangelicals, and then we transitioned into like not working, but learning with the Testigos de Jehovah's, because we're technically never Testigos de Jehovah's. You have to be baptized and go through like a certain thing to be considered one of them. And so she'd always be like, yo no soy testigo de Jehová, yo estudio con los testigos de Jehová. Like, very like,
interesting.
Yeah, but really, like, when I think and reflect on like, why did my mom like hop religion so many times? Like, I was always so confused as a child. That's confusing to kids. Rather than just like a mom who's just Catholic or a mom who's just evangelical Christian, like she was looking for something. And I remember like when she first talked to Jehovah's Witness, it was because Jehovah's Witness come to your door and they ask you how you are. They connect with you on a human level because that's what spirituality and like faith is all about, and she just se soltó, like there's like an older woman coming to your home telling you, giving you support, like all that stuff. Are you just gonna say no to like all this shit that they're telling you? Like, no, you're gonna be like, wow, like this person in this belief, and this new church should be amazing, you know.
Yeah, they actually care.
Yeah, and that's what that's what I grew up with. And I always had this feeling in my, like, this nasty, scary feeling, because my dad's Catholic. Peru is a really Catholic country. My mom was at first, like, she was just evangelical Christian, and they would clash a lot. So, but my mom was a person who I was more close with and who I related to more. So me apegué a ella, and so I was like, I have to be loyal to my mom. My dad's mean. He's being mean to her. So me adopting her religious beliefs and her faith was like, I was like, oh, I'm rebelling. I'm rebelling against my dad. I'm doing the right thing, because Catholicism makes no sense. Like, she would phrase it in a way that's like, oh, like, Catholics pray to saints. That makes no sense. This and this and this.
Oh,
and that.
yeah.
Because saints were just like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Typical.
That's a big one. That's like the one that is always named.
Yeah. And so I would be going, sometimes when my grandma was here, my dad would go to church, and I'd be sitting like, where am I? What the fuck? Where are y'all? Who are you people? What's going on? Comer el cuerpo de Cristo, like,
sí.
all that stuff. I was like, oh, that's good. Give me some. Like, I like that shit. But it was yummy. Like, I don't know. But then went to evangelical church. Ahí con el dos de... And so, like, that switch up was like, okay, what are y'all doing? Like, what's going on? Like, ¿qué onda? Like, ¿qué onda con el Espíritu de Dios? Is it that lit? But then transition into a Jehovah's Witness congregation, which is like simple dimple, just a room, stage, very, very simple.
Okay.
Like, it kind of drew my mom in. She was like, oh, look, they're not trying too hard like the evangelicals, because Jesus flipped the table, like, when they were doing like the spectacle of the temple. Like, hello, like, I'm like, she wouldn't, like, Jesus wouldn't like this, you know?
Yeah.
Jesus wouldn't want you to have like a Starbucks in your church. Or, like, isn't that the whole point? Like, to be humble and to include everyone, not just like the rich people,
right?
The rich people churches,
Yeah.
whatever. Then, after scandals arise in the Testigo de Jehová stuff, typical church stuff, you know, priests being inappropriate. Los ancianos is what they call them, the elders of the congregation. Like, they're being inappropriate with children. So she was like, let's leave. I'm not going to tell you what happened, but let's leave. I had to find out, like, through siblings and, like, chisme. And then, so my mom didn't have a faith for a while. And then she came after she got her phone, that damn phone, led her to Kabbalah and studying, like, specifically Messianic Judaism, which is you follow Jewish practices, the menorah, you celebrate their holidays and stuff like that, traditional to Jewish culture, Jewish religion, but you still believe that Jesus is real. He is, the Messiah.
Okay.
So
do they believe that he came? And is it a different story? Okay.
No, like, they're like, it's just practices, Jewish practices, but I believe Jesus is a Messiah. Like, he is the Messiah. Okay. He's not just a prophet, he's the Messiah.
Okay.
The reason people do this is because they think that by practicing Jewish faith, rituals and things like that, that'll get them closer to being the chosen people of God. Yeah. El pueblo Israel, el pueblo elegido. Like, eso, I grew up with that. Like, los judíos es el pueblo de Jehová, es el pueblo de Jehová. Allá en el medio este siempre va a haber conflictos, porque es la tierra santa, sé que siempre va a haber, like. And then when what's it called? Then I'm like, okay, whatever.
It's kind of like that's the prep, that's the conditioning, right? Like, that's there's always going to be issues. That's the pueblo de Dios. Okay.
Yeah. It kind of sets the tone for it. But again, like, I had that feeling in my stomach, like the same feeling I had when I went to the Catholic church, the same feeling I had when I went to the evangelical churches, when I went to the Congregación de los Testigos de Jehová. I had that. I wasn't going anywhere. My mom was bringing that energy just here in her own room, in the house. She would practice that stuff. She would have us do Shabbat. I was telling you, like, I know some of the prayers, like like that kind of things. Like, it's in my head because my mom would. She memorized like Hebrew, like prayers, like, you know what I mean. Like, she's like,
wow, yeah.
And I was like, damn, like, this is really cool. This is cool, but I still had, like, cool that this is, like, something that you're learning, right? But I had that feeling in my stomach, and I was like, okay,
yeah,
whatever, Mom. Like, I'll let you have your thing, let you do your thing. You're not hurting nobody. She was like, I want to go to Israel, the chosen land, and I could go for free. It's like, oh, cool, whatever that means, you know? Like, so then October 7th happened. And it all clicked. I understood why all that felt wrong to me, but I couldn't put it into words. I didn't have the proper, I didn't know how to say, like, what's a Zionist, you know what I mean? Like, I just knew that there was issues over there, and I couldn't do anything about it. I know that the U.S. is bad, but I was not familiar with the state of Israel, the fabricated state of Israel, and that's when everything clicked. So that's my background.
Wow.
That's what I'm coming from. So
yeah. And she was still very much into it when October happened, October 7th?
Yeah.
Your mom?
Like,
okay.
That was also a flip of a switch for her. She was like, oh, she'll never say it. She'll never say you were right. I should do more research on the stuff that I look up and, like, abide by and whatever. But after that, she stopped, like, subscribing to, like, the courses. She stopped buying, like, she stopped practicing, you know, the Shabbat ritual every, I think, Saturday. Like, she chilled on that. She was like, oh, you know what I mean? And then she was like, let's donate to Palestinian families, like, when we can. Like, ella solita, you know, I didn't have to go tell her anything. Like, she saw it. Everyone
she
saw
understood.
It, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
So she didn't maybe double down on what she was believing in. She understood that it wasn't congruent with what they teach. I see. Okay.
Absolutely. Like, so, and that made me really happy because it just solidified, like, the reason, like, oh yeah, my mom is not just some evil person who wants to go colonize the Middle East. Like, no, she was just a lady, una inmigrante, like, una mamá who was looking for peace of mind. And that's how they get ya.
Yeah, well, you sent me this really good article that I know we're going to talk a little bit about, and let me actually pull up the title. It's El Pueblo de Israel,
El Pueblo Elegido.
El Pueblo Elegido, Latino Evangelicos and Christian Zionism. And I know, like, I'm thinking, I wonder, you know, as people are listening to the episode, I hope you guys are just being open-minded. We're gonna, you know, this episode is a little bit different, but I think that a lot of us grew up with, if not our own immediate families, like families are like maybe cousins, aunts, tías, tíos, etc., that están muy apegados a la religión. And in addition to what happened in October 7th, I think even what is happening now, there's incongruencies, let's say, in what some people are preaching and then the way they respond to things. And so I feel like, I don't know, it just feels like it's an important episode. Like, as I was reading it, the article, seeing how, like, whoa, it's interesting how there's seeds of conditioning in so much culturally, but then in religion, and so they kind of stack up against each other and create the result that we're seeing now. So anyways, I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but thank you for sharing that article. And maybe, like, where do you feel like we can start with this, because I know there's plenty.
I wrote a little summary if you'd like me to share it.
Yeah, of course. Yes, please.
All right. So for anyone listening, I hope that you guys go read it yourselves, because it literally changed my whole entire perspective, and it gave me like something to bite on, like something to grasp on, like, hey, this is real, like I'm not just crazy, like this is Zionism is wrong, and that's really, really embraced in Latinos because of Christianity, because of the Abrahamic religions that dominate Latin America. So I really encourage y'all to read the full article. But just for now, a little summary of what you are in for. So Amy Fallas shares her experience as a first-gen Latina with Messianic Jewish upbringing in her Spanish-speaking church in Washington, D.C. As a kid, her parents found community in the Christian Evangelical Church, resulting in her indoctrination into Christian Zionism. However, when she studied abroad in Egypt, a country that borders Palestine, she learned of the true history of the State of Israel through classmates and professors. This led her to reflect on the propaganda she was fed as a child. As a result, she became a writer, editor, and a PhD candidate in history, working across the fields of modern Middle East and late Ottoman history, religious studies, archival studies, and the Latin East. So, yes, reading all that was really prominent, but let me just start off with Abrahamic religions in America. So, what is Abrahamic religions? Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Those are the main three religions that dominate the world, really. But are you familiar with the story of Abraham?
My dad's name is Abraham, and I should know this, but I don't. No.
Oh my God! Well, let me know what you think about this.
I'm in for a treat, okay?
Yeah, you're in for because you're in for a treat, dude. Okay, because I know
okay.
No, this is crazy. No, I'm like going like this through dimensions. Oh my God. Okay. Abraham is a descendant of Noah's Ark. That's the whole story.
Okay.
He was given a test of faith. Bien chingón, bien chingón, what the fuck? What the fuck, Old Testament Jehovah? Like, why would you do this? Why would you do this to me? But
the plots back then.
the plots back then were crazy. So Abraham was a loyal servant, right, to Jehovah and God. And one day, God decided to put his faith to the test. So he told Abram, hey, go up to the cerro, like to a mountain or like a hill. I forget the details, but you're going to take your son, you're going to lay him down, you're going to kill him. If you truly are my servant, my follower, if you're a believer, you're going to do that. And Abraham said, okay, I will. So one day he goes with his son, and the son's like, Dad, where are we going? This and this and that. He's like, let's just go. He lays him down and he covers his eyes, and he's about to do it. Abraham's about to kill him. And then he was like, for God. So we're going to sacrifice his son, his firstborn. I believe that was his firstborn. And then God is like, stop. Right before he does it, stop. You've proved your loyalty. This and this and this and that. Like, I know that now that you are a loyal servant, you're willing to go that far for me. Thank you. And that's the story. That's the test of faith. And
wow.
Like that's the story I grew up with. And de chiquita, I'm the rebellious, I'm the malcriada, I'm the one asking the questions that don't make sense, to the things that don't add up. Pero mamá, ¿por qué haría eso Dios? O sea, Dios no debe de hacer eso es malo. Like, like, ¿tú me harías eso? ¿Tú me matarías? Yes. If God told me, yes. Because they were under the impression that back then, God, like, I don't know if you've heard this, but like in the Old Testament days or whatever, they tell you that God had direct access to people. But as time went by and more sins became like unmanageable and he just stepped away, right?
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was taught. It's like we strayed too far from that's where
from
that comes
his control.
Exactly.
Or for his okay.
yeah, like his grace, like for him to directly talk to us. So now we just have to like feel him, and he doesn't talk to us because we've sinned too much, all that stuff, right? So I believe that this sets a religious pillar of the patriarchy, like a father willing to sacrifice his family for a higher purpose. And this is like the standard, I believe. When I think of men, when I think of Latin American fathers, they don't sacrifice their children literally. Right now, they don't do that, because if you get your kid and you're about to slit his throat, you're gonna go to jail, right? But they sacrifice their emotional well-being. They sacrifice their hopes and dreams. Like, naciste, pero no tienes el derecho de hacer lo que tú quieras. Vas a trabajar para la familia, para nosotros. Like, you're gonna go get a job, and most of the times, like, fathers, at least in my experience, like, they didn't even want like kids. Like, they didn't want to be parents. And not say kids. They didn't want to be parents. They wanted the baby. They just want a legacy. Like, they just want a legacy. But for what? To pass down what?
Right.
Like, toxic behaviors? Like, dysfunctional, like, systems? Like, come on. And so this is something that's what these religions are all based on. I don't know, like, but if you ask me, if a mom, like, going back to like the Leona aspect, the defender, the mama bear, you ask a mom that, she'd laugh in your face. I'm so sorry. I think, or at least someone who doesn't have this belief, like, she'd laugh in your face. I'm not gonna kill my son for you, like, voice in my head or whatever. Like, they're not gonna do that. They're to protect.
But if they know
kids.
This story, they might.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's crazy. Wait, so sorry, pause. So Abraham, I think you called it Abrahamic. Oh my gosh.
Abrahamic religions, correct?
Abrahamic religions are based on the story, so it's kind of like that's the base of it.
They all recognize Abraham as the first prophet. That's
That's
the link of all of them.
Okay, interesting. Okay, yes. So it was Islam.
Islam, Christianity, and Judaism.
Okay.
Yes.
Learning. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Please continue, Professor.
Oh my God. Professor Zadria, goodbye. So,
Professor Zadria.
For this reason, like, after experiencing all of these, like, after having like a foot in almost every like sector of like Christianity, because I believe that Jehovah's Witness falls under Christianity. It does. Catholicism also falls under Christianity, because Christianity just means that you believe in Christ. And then there's a bunch of different, like, Orthodox, whatever. A lot. There's a lot.
Yeah.
You see, I am ching. And then finally, from the jump from Christianity to Messianic Judaism, I was like, there's a pattern here. It feels wrong. Like, I'm like, this feels wrong. Like, you know what I mean? So I strayed away from religion, and I went closer to spirituality and brujeria, though I wouldn't call myself a bruja yet. I think that's a title that you like earn, like your community like puts on you. And I do come from a line of witches and women with spiritual abilities. Mi abuela, she was known as the bruja of the town in back in Veracruz. And she te leía la mano, te leía las cartas. Obviously, she had her own flaws, right? But she would work with like these types of things. She would work with spirits, and no one would like want to be with her, get close to her, but everyone would go to her for help whenever they needed. Like when they were in a pickle, they'd go with her. She also had nursing training, so that helps. And something about her that I really respect is that during the HIV AIDS epidemic, no one would want to get close to people with the disease. They just, but my grandma would go and give them medicine, feed them, and would like tell them like the people who would be in the streets, because that's literally where they were. She'd feed them, and she'd be like, she'd tell my mom, and my mom tells me this all the time. She's like, tu abuela me decía, esa enfermedad no te va a dar así. Están locos, like no tienes, because she was a nurse, so she knew, she had nurse training.
Wow. Yeah.
And so, yeah, and like knowing that, and then like she named me as well. Like she told my mom, una de tus hijas ponle Citlali, una de sus hijas. I'm the only kid in my family, in the siblings, who has a Nahuatl name, who has an indigenous name. And I think that was like really purposeful, because my grandma, my great grandma, that because my mom's grandma, not even just my grandma, my mom's grandma, she would see how my mom was like going to the US, leaving like Mexico behind and starting a family over there. She was like, she would tell me that my grandma would be like, ay, pinches gringos, and then my mom would be like, pero si yo tengo hijos, van a ser gringos because we're gonna live in the US. And then she's like, are you gonna hate my kids? She was like, no, not your kids, right? And unfortunately, she did pass when I was very small, but I got to see her and meet her and like talk to her. She was bedridden. She denounced her spirituality and brujeria gifts, and she just went full evangelical towards the end. Yeah. And yeah. So, and my grandma, she was able to tell who was gonna die. Like she would get visions, and they were really like, they were not pleasant. Like it's a gift, but it's not a really pleasant gift, right? Knowing like who's gonna die. So she became as well Christian evangelical, and in las congregaciones they would pray for that to go away, like to suppress her abilities.
Okay, I feel like this episode's gonna turn into something else.
Oh yeah,
No,
it's all together.
This is so crazy. Together. Like, okay, first you told me the story about Abraham, and that was his firstborn. My dad's firstborn passed away as a baby. And I don't know if he's ever thought about his name and like the connection to his story. But basically my dad, at the age of 16, 17, 16, I think he was really young. He and a girl, he got a girl pregnant, and then the baby was a daughter and she was born, but then a few months in, I think she passed away. So that's one thing that's just been like playing in my mind, like, holy crap, the story that you shared. And I had never like tied them either together. Then you're telling me about your I think it's your great grandma with the abilities, or was it your grandma? I got confused.
My grandma had the ability to tell who could die. My great grandma was the one known as the bruja of the town.
Okay. So as I have been awakening to my gifts, right, or like expressing them, there's been so many people around me that oh, si tu tía esto y tu papá esto, like that, right? And so my dad, growing up, he would smell inciensos, when someone was about to pass away in the pueblo.
Dude, I got chills.
Yeah, so that's why I'm like, wait, I need to tell you, like, I can't just, I need to, like, I don't know, share. Yeah.
Where's your family from? Your dad's side of the family?
Guerrero, Mexico.
Sí, o sea, still connected to like el pueblo, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he was like, he grew up there, but then he came here when he was like almost 18, probably shortly after his daughter passed. But so basically, like, he tells me that, and then he says que también como que he would pray that that went away, like pray that ability went away because it was scary for him, and like it just wasn't pleasant to know that someone had passed away, or that he could tell when someone was about to pass away. And then my tia, she's like kind of like your great grandma, I guess, where it's like she knows things, she reads things, like como que tiene esas habilidades, But it's so interesting because mixed into all of that, like my grandpa was a pastor, so he would like, of course that doesn't align with what they're preaching about. I think it was like evangelical Christian, and so then like I think they had to suppress these parts of themselves in order to align with what their dad was preaching. And then now that I like am bubbling this back up for myself, then they're allowing themselves to like be like, oh yeah, I used to this and that, but so interesting. So anyways, I wanted to share it porque I was like,
No,
whoa.
thank you. No, yeah, that was insane. You said that, and I got chills in the back of my neck. That's crazy. Oh my
Yeah.
god. Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, why am I getting teary eyed? That's crazy. All right. Che
Yeah.
bruja stuff.
I know. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Maybe this is like a sign. Maybe this is confirmation where we were supposed to talk. Supposed to
Yeah.
meet.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. But going back into like the Abrahamic religions of it all, like you said, like there's los evangelicals, the this and this and that. They're all spread out through Latin America. But something that is very that is why like it's so normalized in Latinos for us to be like, oh yeah, Israel, yeah, normal, it's normal. Our cousins are named that. People name their kids after Israel. They see it as a promised land, and they see el pueblo judío as the chosen people. And that's something that Amy Fayez talked about in the article. Like her father's like congregation, they adopted Jewish religious practices, like wearing the kippah, using the menorah, like practicing Shabbat, because they were like, oh, because if we try to imitate and practice the practices of the God's chosen people, then we're on the right path, essentially.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is what happened, and I would like to read just this one paragraph, this excerpt from the article, and then we could just get into it deeper. Latino evangelicos have been actively targeted by Zionist organizations in the United States. The largest pro-Israel lobby groups, such as Christians United for Israel and American Israel Public Affairs Committee, AIPAC, have Latino and Hispanic outreach efforts, while more organizations have been established specifically to strengthen the Spanish-speaking community's support of Israel. In 2019, the Latino Coalition for Israel organized a summit in Jerusalem for approximately 200 Latino evangelical leaders. This gathering built on the heels of earlier efforts to bring Latino evangelicals and Israelis together, such as the National Hispanic Christian Leadership Conference, CONELA's partnership with the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem. What I wanted to speak to when I asked that question is like these big corporations, not just like companies, but government agencies, government lobbyists. I'm throwing this word around because I just assume everyone knows, but like I understand that it could be jargon. If you don't know about what a lobbyist is, I didn't fucking know either. I learned because I took an internship in the Texas Capitol, and I was right there seeing how people go and make deals to pass bills, to pass these things. And one of the jobs that stood out to me the most, and I was like, where the fuck is that a thing? And I was literally, what the fuck? I was like, what the fuck? We're lobbyists. Lobbyists are just people. They don't have any law degrees. They could, but they don't have to. It's just someone that a company or a group, a political group, anyone could hire them. And they have them go talk to representatives to get bills passed in their favors. Something that is legal in Texas for lobbyists to do is to buy representatives food with the company card. Because if it's food, it's not considered a bribe. But what did they get? Steak, che lobster, che this, che that. Kind of showing off like, hey, like, you work with us. We got money. We got you. We got you for your next campaign. We got you for this. And the representatives from the Valley, they fold. They fold like folding chairs at the last hour of the carne asada. Like, they are They don't give a fuck. They're just people who are money hungry, and the person I worked for was just power, money hungry, status hungry, everything. So for a lobbyist to try to target Latino demographic, it's insane. And the reason I wanted to talk about that is because these people, like the people in places we don't even know of, like higher above our paycheck, obviously, they know us. They see us. And they want a piece. They want our attention. They want our devotion. They want our this. But what I wanted to talk about is kind of redirect the conversation into Zionists and Israel. Israel didn't exist prior to the 1940s. Our grandmas are older than Israel. My grandma's older than Israel. The reason Israel came to be is because after World War II, with the Holocaust, there was a lot of displaced Jews. And a lot of displaced Jews, they didn't have anywhere to go, essentially, right? So the British people, they asked Palestine, the US and the UK, not UK, Britain, Great Britain, whatever, those, they went to Palestine.
The British.
And the British are coming. They went to Palestine and they were like, hey, can you guys welcome these displaced people, these refugees, and this and that? They have roots here. Like, there's history of Jews being tied to Jerusalem and all that stuff, and that's true. Like, Jewish people are, like, there's Jewish people in Palestine, like, prior to whatever, prior to the state of Israel, pero ahí vivían en comunidad con los palestinos, con los cristianos palestinos, con los palestinos musulmanes. Like, it was all like, yeah, like, we see each other. Like, hello, we don't need just a state for just Jewish people who practice, we don't, like, only for Jewish people. That is a theocracy. The things that the thing that the US shames all the time for theocracies in the Middle East, right? And again, not saying that they're good or whatever, because again, like, they follow that patriarchy, that system based in Abraham. So, because Palestinians were like, yeah, of course we're going to welcome people. They just fucking went through a fucking genocide. Of course, vénganse pa' acá. But they didn't know that the UK and the US had an agenda to set up Israel as a proxy state, to have them be, like, basically, it's like the US in the Middle East, the Great Britain in the Middle East. We have a spot there. And then came the Nakba, which was when they were kicking, the first time that they kicked out, or not kicked out, they displaced, and kind of like the Trail of Tears here in the US. It happened over there for Palestinians. They were displaced from their homes, forcefully removed from their homes and told to go elsewhere. And go into this little tiny section, which is
like
Gaza.
To house displaced people, they displaced people.
Exactly. And then activists online are saying, like, yeah, the Nakba didn't, like, it just never stopped happening, because to this day, that's what they're doing. Now it's state-sanctioned violence, terrorism on the occupation, the Israeli occupation. That is what it is. And acá en Latinoamérica, pues ni en cuenta, you know what I mean? Ni en cuenta, like, we're in chinga, we're trying to feed our families, we're trying to, like, move to the US. Like, I don't even have time. Like, people aren't finishing, like, the education, like, in Latin America is not funded, like, in the way that, like, the US has the money to fund schools. Now they're taking it off, right? But, like, to fund private school, like, you know what I mean? It's like, you either have private school education or nothing, because the public school systems aren't properly funded. Obviously not in every single Latin American country, but you know what I'm talking about. And yeah, so that is the history of it. And again, like, when people try really hard to, like, say that, no, if you don't believe that Israel should be a state, has the right to exist, like, then you're anti-Semitic. And that's just not true, because there are Jewish people who are against the state of Israel because they believe that, hello, like they are aware, they know what a genocide looks like, they lived it. So for them to
Right.
just perpetuate a new one makes no
Right.
sense. No sense
Right.
at all.
Yeah.
Last thing, which is a quote from the article that, again, I push everyone listening to read. I encourage you guys to read. God is more than just a distributor of land.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I think, well, kind of bringing it back to what we were talking about, like lobbyists and the fact that like it's almost como they need people to believe the story, right? It's so crazy because it's so true. Like once you believe the story, then you dismiss anything else that happens, right? Oh, well, they're defending their land, or that's the chosen land, so like they have a right to be there, they have a right to defend it, they have a right to do whatever it takes. But that's because you bought the story. That's because maybe you don't know the layers underneath it. That's because maybe you don't know the history of it. And so I think, that was kind of the purpose of today's episode, is to bring in like the additional aspects, and also to know that our communities are maybe easy prey for some of the belief systems that they hold, because part of the article, or part of it was spoken in there, is like there's a machismo, you talked about it in the sense of patriarchy, machismo that exists within our communities. And so it's kind of like mirroring aspects of that within our religions. And then if they get, let's say, los pastores or whatever, to buy into this perspective, which not to confuse us too much, but the same thing is happening, or happened, when it was election season, right? Like mucha gente, muchos pastores creyeron que Trump was going to be the next best thing, and like that he aligned with religious values. And because our people, like you said, they're in survival mode, they have to work, etc., then they don't also stop to question. And so, oh, pues es que el pastor dijo, entonces vamos a votar por él, you know? So I don't know if that made sense, but I'm trying to tie it all together in the sense that like it's good to know and discern for yourself, like, is this real, or is this a story that I'm being sold? Is this propaganda? And to recognize or know that even like lobbyists, there are entities that work alongside our community, not for the betterment of, but then to have them be on, like, to move along whatever agenda they have. There we go. That's what I was trying to say. Like,
Yes.
that's so crazy and good to know that there are lobbyists, like you said, that see our communities and go, yep, like we want that. Yep, we're gonna redirect, right? So if we were trending, how do we redirect that? How do we take some of that power and put it towards something that works in our favor and not their own? And I think as a population, hopefully we're able to get it together enough to know, like, how can we support things that truly align with who we are, with what we need as a community, with our betterment, and not that of others. Because it's crazy to see that that's actually how people in the world operates. It's like, yeah, I don't know, if we're not vigilant, if we don't have our eyes open, it's easy.
Exactly that. Exactly that. And I guess people like to say it's because it's really complicated. There's a lot of things that happen. It's not. And the way it's not complicated is because it's a pattern that keeps repeating. And the pattern I'm speaking to is about imperialism and colonization. It's just evolving, and now people have more tools to work with. They have like um, identities that they can manipulate and target. They have groups that they can manipulate and target. They have AI now. They have all of these things. So it's like, in that sense, yes, I understand that it could be more confusing. But if you just remember, if the thing I want people to understand is that this isn't new. This isn't
Mhm.
like a whole thing that just came out of nowhere. These are events that have been happening throughout the whole entire history of the world. Indigenous people being forced out of their land and being exploited and forced to work it. That is that is the history of the entire world.
Yeah.
And the Palestinian people, they are indigenous to Palestine, to their land, and the thing I say is like, indigenous people take care of the land. They don't bomb it. They don't
Mm-hmm.
tear it down to put up condos. They don't do that. And it's just, I wanted to talk directly to Latinos and Latinas, Latines, that our job, like the thing that we could do is, one, learn about this, obviously, but also try to embark on our reconnecting journey. All of us have, yes, obviously we have fucking colonizer backgrounds, like from Spanish, because like, pues, yeah. But indigenous pueblos, they're not gone. They didn't just poof, disintegrate into nothing. No, they were just shoved into. In the U.S., it's reservations. In Gaza, it's like reservations. It's like the Gaza Strip, and then the West Bank. And here in Latin America, it happened a little bit different. You know, with the caste system, we had the Europeans at the top and enslaved people, African people at the bottom, and then the indigenous people right above them, and then mestizos above them, and then right? So
Mm-hmm.
if people understand that and try to, instead of trying to assimilate into American culture, into European culture,
Yeah.
we will see that we're going to be able to see like all the positive changes that we could do in that way. The El Pueblo Unido
Yeah.
jamás será vencido, that comes from indigenous people leading the
Right.
march. And so, for example, like I guess I'll share a little bit about my reconnecting journey. Mi mamá es de Veracruz, Boca del Rio. My dad is from Peru, Lima, but my lineage is in Cusco. Like that's where like most of my family is. Like I went to visit. I've gone to Peru 3 times in my life because that shit's expensive.
Mm.
Um, like I don't have just access to just go whenever, even though I would love to, you know. I'm planning
Mm-hmm.
on staying there for a while, like soon, but I need to get my money right. Um, but what I've learned is that I need to honor uh, the like. What I learned is that like, one, I'm detribalized. I am not indigenous. I have indigenous ancestry, yes, but
Mm-hmm.
I am not. I cannot claim that. And a lot of
Okay.
people want to do that so fast because they want
Mm-hmm.
to just remove themselves from the imperialism of it all, like the white savior, the privilege they want to separate. Like,
I see.
no, you
Yeah.
don't have to do that. And by doing that, you're erasing actual connected indigenous people.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, like in Mexico, like no, in Peru, indigenous people who are still practicing like their ways, they call them cholitas, cholos y cholitas, and
Mm-hmm.
they dress in their traditional vestment, su pollera, like that's the traditional skirt and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the indigenous people everywhere, like who are connected to their pueblos, who still live in their pueblos and all this stuff, um, these pueblos are not funded. They're not given like the proper resources or
Mm.
community like outlets or anything like that. It's not because the people in
Wow.
charge, los políticos, they're bought. Um,
Right.
and it's not like, oh, well, they need to figure it out themselves and da, 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 da. Like, no, like it's because we're seeing the real time colonization like effects. Like we're seeing it and it's painful and it's hard to
Yeah.
watch. But we need to see like, oh, like it was kind of like a smack in the face, like from reality, like, bitch, be grateful. Like your dad, like your grandma, like left here to she went to the city, not even by choice, like she was sent off to the city for a better life or whatever. And then my dad, she sent away my dad because of all the political like shit, like there was political terrorism that was going on. And
Mm.
my grandma just didn't want my dad to be like one of the criminals, because it was just like, if you're a boy growing up in a war terrorist ridden country, like it's, you either are
Wow.
a straight arrow or you're gonna be one of the criminals,
Right.
So,
That are not following suit.
right.
Wow.
So, ¿qué hacen? Nada más los mandan, they send them away to try to find better for their safety. And so I have to be like, one, grateful for everything that I have, and redirected back to the pueblos, you know, like to be like, okay, like, um, just know that I'm like, yes, like collective struggle like makes sense. Like I'm not like about a billionaire. I don't have like all these things. Like I can't just like spend my money willy nilly. Like right, but I have the privileges of going to school. I had the privilege of having a family that had my back. I have the privilege of like gaining access to therapy, having really cool researching skills to learn and educate myself about these things. And a lot of Latinos who aren't trying to reconnect, but just kind of use their identity as like they tokenize themselves like I'm Latina, oh my god, like am I the only Latina here, like oh my god, yeah, I'm spicy, like all this stuff, like you're fetishizing your own culture
Yeah.
because it's not a costume, you know. And I feel
Right.
like that's what the US does. It makes everything a brand, it makes everything a
Right.
spectacle, and it's just not like my culture is so important to me, like my
Yeah.
grandma, our food, our music, our dance, like in both Peru and Mexico, you know, like it's very important to me. It is not something that I would want to fetishize and something that I would want to exploit. It's something I need to honor. And in the best way honoring it is by using the fucking privilege I got and redirecting it back to the land back movement, you know, like that's national, that's eso es mundial, you know. So, and a lot of Latinos who are acting like that, they act more like Zionists that coincides more with Zionism because like I don't know if you saw, but there was like this a lot of actors are, you could see in like Hollywood, a lot of them like are funded by APAC, a lot of them are like proud Zionists and all that stuff for a purpose, you know.
Yeah.
Like Stranger Things, Noah Schnapp, he
Oh.
like when all this was happening, like October 7th stuff was fresh, he made stickers that said Zionism is sexy.
Wow.
What does that remind you of? Spicy Latina. So, like someone whose culture is, who are indigenous to the land, who is really fond of their culture, want to protect it and not fucking exploit it, wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
They wouldn't do that. And so it's like I want to like the reason I said this because I want to like speak to the similarities that sometimes like some first gen perpetuate here in the US when they are detribalized, when they are not reconnecting, versus someone who is trying to connect and how they would perceive like this whole situation. And that is what I commented in your episode, in your TikTok. It was like, it's less about let's not center our feelings so much. Yes, we have a space for them. And yes, we can feel our grief and our loss, like, oh shit, like I was detribalized. Oh shit, this happened to my family. Oh shit. But we also recognize, like, and again, in the insane privilege that we have, we're in the imperial core. We're here, we're out here, and they're trying to get rid of us, like even the ones who are naturally born here, you know. And it's for a reason, because we're catching on. Like people are saying Mexicans are more indigenous to the US than white people. Like, what are y'all even talking about? It's like, yes, that's the direction you want to go. We have indigenous ties. We have indigenous roots. Here, the border crossed us. Not we didn't cross the border. The border crossed us. We need to research more into that and realize that, again, the indigenous pueblos that we come from, the Maya, Otomi, Nahuatl, like Mexica, like they're all here. Like they didn't just disappear. Quechua people, like they're there. They didn't just disappear. The cultures are there. We just gotta go find it and put more attention into that, rather than watching Stranger Things, rather than seeing all this media that is harmful and is propaganda, you know. And yeah, that's my spiel.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. There's so much. Like every corner you look, you know, there's so much distraction, so much redirection. There's so much work we have to do internally, externally, culturally, you know. I think like it's sometimes it's daunting to even just like recognize that, you know, but it's also inspiring. And I do think I've seen, at least, or I've felt that there are a lot of people who are deepening into that, like deepening back into like not only like who am I at a personality level, but where are my roots from and why am I here and what am I doing with my life. And like, you know, I really do think that that is gonna, I hope to see that the results of that. I think we are, you know, because I think, like, for example, as a Latina moving through the corporate world, I definitely feel like I felt disconnected. But just like how at some points in our journeys we don't have words, it's like kind of that feeling that you got, like, this doesn't feel good, but I
Feel
don't
right.
know how to name it, right? That's how it felt in the corporate world for me. It was like I was on the right path. No one was going to tell me otherwise. Everyone encouraged me to stay on there. But like it just felt like I was suffocating, you know? And it took me years to get the words to say, like, oh, I'm not myself. Oh, these are things I need to shed. Oh, you know? And so I imagine as humans, as a cultura, like so many of us are at different phases of that. You know, we're all in different versions of that. And I imagine it's hard for us to all be on the same page. But hopefully, as we just open conversation, as we just continue to encourage, you know, like question the things that you know, that things that you're told, the way that we're portrayed, like hopefully that seeds little yeah, little seeds in different people and different idea seeds that will sprout when they need to, when they can, when there's a safety to, you know. But yeah, I don't know. That's my hope, I guess, with this conversation también. But just to wrap up, I wanted to say thank you so much for, again, being a part of the podcast, for sharing this information. I know it almost feels like stepping on eggshells sometimes, but I think sometimes we have to step on them in order to open and crack open certain pathways for people. And so I appreciate your knowledge, and yeah, thank you so much.
I appreciate you inviting me. I am so grateful that I was able to talk to you and be on the pod, a podcast that I've been listening to that's been helping me like navigate through all of this myself. So like just thank you to you. And again, like it's been an honor.
Yay. Okay, beautiful humans. Thank you so much. Share this with people that you think need to hear this, even if they're going to be like, why did you send this to me? Send it to them. Okay. Okay, pues. Thank you. Bye.